Speak on the show 2021, episode 29. Today, Social Security, FEMA, refused service, Elijah McClain, Ahmaud Arbery, Martinsville 7, and the Mind, Body, and Soul segment. It's Saturday morning, y'all. Labor Day weekend. Y'all ready? Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's your boy, R.W. Coolins. Speak on the show. First and foremost, giving honor to the guy who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Good morning, y'all. 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, Saturday morning. What we always do around this time is Labor Day weekend. I know y'all got the grills about to be fired up. Well, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow. One of these days this weekend. We're ending the 101 critical days of summer. Summer's coming to an end. Fall is on the horizon. I seen something this morning on the East Coast. It was a little brisk and chilly this morning. So everybody said fall's on the way. A little relief from all the heat we've been having, the rain, everything back there. But it's a good morning to be on this side of the living. It's a good morning to be on this side of the living. Good morning, Lady Michelle. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. Labor Day weekend, what y'all got planned? I know somebody got something on the grill. You know, that one question, who made the potato salad? All that's going to happen today because this the last official weekend to end up doing a barbecue. But we do it outside of that. Josh Boyd, what's up, my brother? Appreciate your support, man. Appreciate your support. Keep doing what you're doing out there in LA, bro. So I'm excited about this weekend, y'all. I'm excited about this weekend just to get to relax, unwind a little bit, maybe have a few libations, cocktails, whatever you want to call it. Indulge how you do, but indulge within reason. That's all I'm going to say. Let's get these formalities out the way. Brian Hoodie, good morning, bro. Appreciate your support. Get these formalities out. rwcoolins.com. That's the website. rwcoolins over all social media platforms. This morning we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, and you can download the show after the fact on Spreaker.com or Apple iTunes. You can get all the audio shows there. Just type in RW Coolins. Boom. Should pop up for you. You can search. I got to adjust my lights again. I have to do this every week. I don't want to look too bright and I don't want to look too dark, but it is what it is. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. RWCoolins.com website. You can go there. Spreaker.com's link is there. Apple iTunes link is not there, but all the other links are there. You can click there, listen to old shows, go back and follow. As I mentioned before, subscribe to the YouTube channel. So if you go there, all the videos are there. I'm starting to break segments out of the full show from today. I'm breaking out small segments here and there for people to be able to catch a glimpse of what we do here. So share them if you see them. Get people involved. We're going to be talking about what we talk about on a consistent basis, what's going on in the world and everything like that. So let's get some more people involved. Not about the followers or nothing like that. It's about the listenership, getting it up and getting people involved in what we try to do here on the Speak on the Show. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. I watched one of my shows, when I was doing some editing the other day, and I forgot about 3 numbers in there. I was going so fast. 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. I always ask when you come into the Speak on the Show and you have a comment, say what you mean what you say. That's the only requirement we have. We don't judge. We're going to conversate about it. We're going to talk about it, make some comments and do things like that. So that's what we do here on the Speak on the Show. And as I mentioned, coming up on 9 years, got the anniversary coming up this month. I haven't decided what day or what weekend I'm going to do the show, but you'll see the announcements and everything, and probably have some guests on to talk about some things going on. You know, we're just going to gear it towards the show, but we're going to talk about some topics going on and then continue to tell you what we got coming up big on the Speak on the Show. Also, let me give a shout out. Give a shout out to OT. OT is back on. He's doing different segments and he was doing a lot of different shows throughout the week, so you may have missed him, but he's going to be going back to doing Fridays, you know, Friday nights with OT, or the OT show on Friday nights. I can't get it, but I'll get the information for you once he posts it. I'll share it. Follow OT. As I always say, he's the one to put me on to get me to doing this. So we got to support him as well. So go there, check him out. He has some good interviews, something that I think I'm gonna get back into, but he's doing a lot of big interviews, a lot of over a plethora of platforms is what he's doing the interviews about. So make sure you go check out my boy OT. He's on YouTube too. Go check out OT Radio Show. I think it is on OT Radio 1 on YouTube. So go there, subscribe, follow him. Let's go and get into this, because I got a couple different topics I want to get into, but we got to talk about some things that are very important right now. Social Security. Well, before we go to Social Security, let me give this out. Sending our prayers out to everybody who was affected by Hurricane Ida, I think it was, down in Louisiana, and also up along the East Coast. I seen the flooding. Like I said, I seen all the flooding and everything like that. Check on your loved ones. If you haven't heard from them, check on them, make sure everybody's good. And if they need donations, if you need to send them things, send it directly to them. Some of these foundations aren't on the up and up, so I would say send it to the people that need it directly. That way you know it got there. But prayers going out to them. Call and check on them. Make sure everybody's all right. All right. So Social Security. I read this article the other day, and it says that the Social Security Trust Fund will run out of money by 2034. The Social Security Trust Fund will run out of money by 2034. Now, we've heard this many, many times, that the Social Security doesn't have the money to be able to continue paying people out. One time you heard Republicans trying to get rid of the Social Security program. But let me read some things, and then I got some comments on this, because by this prediction is 1 year sooner than what was expected when they did this evaluation last year. And here's what it says. On the one hand, the pandemic triggered lockdowns have led to widespread business closures and layoffs, which has significantly reduced the tax revenue from payrolls, the program's main source of income. So because of the pandemic and everything, people are now going to work, people not being paid, so that people haven't been paying into Social Security. So they're saying that was a big drop off in that and everything like that. But I don't know how this money could be affected that much, because it just to give you a prime example. I've been paying into Social Security since I first got my first job when I was, I think, 14, 15 years old, somewhere in there, in that area. I'm 55 years old now. And you're telling me that all the money I've invested in Social Security for my retirement may not be there or may run out by 2034. So my question would be, where's all the money going? Are they using this money that we've all put into for other programs and not saying anything, or what is it? Because I mentioned this to somebody yesterday, and I said, we're paying into Social Security all these years. You can't collect it. The earliest you can collect it is 62 unless you got a disability, and we'll get into that in a minute. But you can't start collecting until you're 62. So from the time you start paying 14, 15 years old, whenever you get your first job, up to 62, if you're paying into your Social Security, you can't collect it till 62. So all those years, what is that money doing? Let me tell you, that money is accruing interest, not for you, but for the government. That money is accruing interest for the government, but to continue to tell us and keep threatening us that the Social Security money is going to run out. Now, I want you to think about all the people that are invested in Social Security. You never hear them talking about this with the 401ks unless the market crashes or anything like that. But the money that they've been taking from your check all these years, now they're saying that the money may run out because of different situations. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's just one of those things. I don't know. Deborah Harris, good morning. Appreciate your support. But let me read some more of this. And then it says, the COVID-19 virus has also left many survivors with damaged health that would require long-term care and thus lift costs to the Social Security program. So now they're talking about an increase because of the pandemic. That could reduce the cost to the program, which will now pay for a theoretically healthier group of beneficiaries. The pandemic will likely lead to higher mortality rates through at least 2023, estimates the trustees for the Social Security Fund. A wave of baby boomers is expected to retire in the next 2 decades, boosting the number of beneficiaries. The COVID-19 pandemic will also likely have a negative impact on immigrant numbers and already low birth rates. Both factors could weigh on the labor force growth and economic output and hurt Social Security revenue. Social Security beneficiaries could see a nearly 6% increase in cost of living, the highest annual benefit increase since 2008. Now, that's for this year. The cost of living adjustments was only 1.3% in 2021 and 1.6% in 2020 by comparison. So this year, they're looking to increase Social Security benefits to keep up with the cost of living at a 6% increase for those receiving Social Security. But we don't have the money. There's no money in there. It's going to run out. The Funds Disability Program, meanwhile, is estimated to run out in 2057, 8 years earlier than last year's projection. So if you're on Social Security disability, SSI is what they call it, this will stretch out to 2057. Regular Social Security, they say 2034, because you don't have a lot of people that get on the disability aspect of it, depending on your situation. But I still have to ask the question, why do we continue to hear threats that the money is not going to be there for when someone like me or someone like you gets ready to retire? Where is this money going? And you can't tell me, and then I get into this, this conversation about, well, people are living longer and everything like that. No, that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, that's a good thing. But if you're paying them out the money that they've paid in over all these years, where's the issue? And I go back again to all the money we spend on these other endeavors, is what I'll call it. All these other endeavors, case in point, all the money we spent in Afghanistan for 20 years and all those different things, but we don't have enough money to secure the funding that people have paid into for their Social Security to have a comfortable. Nobody's trying to get rich off Social Security. Let me clear that up. Nobody's trying to get rich off Social Security and that check that they're going to get. But for everyone who's put into that, to have some sense of comfortability once they retire. But we always hear this threat. So let's keep an eye on that. It's something we gotta continue to watch, and we got to continue to watch who these politicians were putting in place that are controlling the narrative of what Social Security is going to be, what it's not going to be, and how it's going to continue to be paid out as we go along. I need my money. I'll just be honest. I needs my money. I put in, I want a return on my investment. Everybody should feel the same way. I want a return on my investment. If I've been putting in, damn it, you got to pay it out. Give me mine. Give me mine. That's all I'm saying. FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. And this one here, it goes back into when we talk about the systems. It goes back to when we talk about how the systems penalize or don't take care of certain people because of where they live, how they look, the systemic parts of it with racism, different things like that. FEMA announced Thursday that it would no longer, listen to this now, this is the key words in here that makes you know that they knew what was going on, but they chose not to do anything until they're going to do something now. FEMA announced Thursday that it will no longer require disaster survivors living on inherited land to prove home ownership before they can access federal assistance for rebuilding. Now, this goes into the fact of, everyone thinks that you have to have a deed, you have to have all this stuff, in order to have your thing. But a lot of this land and houses and things have been inherited, within the African-American community from the grandparents, the parents and stuff, and it's been handed over, but it's nothing written or anything like that. So, well, let me get into this real quick because I need to give you the facts of this because it's one of those things, again, that jump out at me. Good morning, my big brother out there at the campground, chilling. Appreciate your support, man. Thanks for listening. So it's one of those things. You get back into this systemic racism, systemic systems that are set up not for everybody, for a certain few. Why it matters. The policy disproportionately impacts Black families whose land is often passed down informally rather than through legal deeds and wills. This is according to the Washington Post analysis published in July. The change comes on the heels of Hurricane Ida, which just happened this week. So the backdrop, let's get into this. The absence of formalized procedures started during the Jim Crow era, case in point, because white Americans excluded Black people from the Southern legal system. The land instead becomes heirs' property, through which families own property collectively without a clear title. Today, land use experts say that over a third of Black-owned land in the South is passed down informally. But without formal deeds, families are unable to apply for federal loans and grants, including from FEMA. Heirs' property is the leading cause of Black involuntary land loss. So, to put this in layman's terms, the land has been handed over from generation to generation in the Black community. There's no titles, there's no deeds, there's nothing. And when you go to apply for help after Hurricane Ida or Hurricane Katrina or any of these things that happen, a disaster, a natural disaster, you're unable to get funding through FEMA because you don't have an official deed or title in your name saying that you own that land. So they would not give you any type of money to be able to fix your home that was affected. They've known this since the Jim Crow era, but nobody has done anything to fix it up until now. That's a long time of people not being able to get the funds. Now, mind you, these are tax-paying citizens, but they're unable to get the tax-paying funded FEMA program to help them fix their home after a natural disaster. Now, here's what's new. FEMA will now accept a broader range of documentation to prove home ownership and occupancy, such as presenting receipts for significant home repairs or improvements. Some applicants will be allowed to self-certify. Now, this is where they break it down. For those unable to verify ownership, FEMA will now send inspectors to their homes instead of forcing survivors to appeal rejection letters. Survivors who can offer other forms of paperwork will not have to appeal. The agency has also expanded forms of assistance in an effort to ensure equal access is available to all survivors. The new policy is in effect for natural disasters since the Tennessee flood in late August. What they're saying, our department has an obligation to ensure we provide equal access to disaster relief and assistance to all survivors who are in need. This is what the Homeland Security, Alexander Mayorkas said in a statement. He's the Secretary of Homeland Security. And this is what he said: equity is a cornerstone of our Homeland Security mission. And in all of our work, we must reach minority communities, the disadvantaged, and the otherwise disenfranchised. Here's the big picture. Title issues have led FEMA to deny requests for disaster aid from roughly 2% of applicants per the Washington Post. In the majority Black counties, that rate is twice as high, in large part because Black people are twice as likely to pass down property informally. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, watch this now, FEMA denied aid to an estimated 20,000 heirs property owners. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, FEMA denied aid to an estimated, not that they know for sure, but an estimated 20,000 heirs of property owners. So 20,000 people who were heir property owners got no assistance. They denied their claims. What does that say? And then after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico in 2017, FEMA again denied over 80,000 applications due to land title issues. Internal FEMA documents indicate the agency is also less likely to grant some types of housing assistance to low-income disaster survivors. This was started back in the Jim Crow era, where they weren't allowing Blacks to do what they got to do to get the assistance that they need. We're in 2021, and we're just getting this type of action done within that department to take care of those people. So when you talk about Katrina and what's the other one? I'm sorry, Maria, that was in Puerto Rico. You're talking about 100,000 people. They got no assistance whatsoever from FEMA to be able to take care of what they had to take care of for and to rebuild their living quarters because they didn't have the right documentation. But no one took the time up to this point to say, hey, in order for you to get this assistance, we need you to get some type of legal documentation done to show that you own this property. There's a process for that, I'm sure. But nobody gave them the steps to get there. All they told them is you're denied. That was it. These are the systems that we talk about need to be removed. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad FEMA has recognized it, but you also got to look back how long this has been going on before they actually did something about it. Progress is all we ask for, but progress shouldn't take that much time. In my opinion, it shouldn't take that much time. There's too much time for that. All right, let's go and transition into this next one, because this next one I think y'all gonna get a little kick out. Refused service. Refused service. Now, normally I don't mention this person's name on my show because I'm not a fan. I'm not a person that likes her platform. I'm not a person that likes her agenda. But in this case, I got to bring her name up because I'm kind of torn on the way this went down. And we're talking about Candace Owens. I don't know if any of y'all heard, but Candace Owens she's in Colorado doing something, whatever she's doing. But she's scheduled to have a COVID-19 test taken. She wanted to get a COVID-19 test done to make sure she wasn't, COVID positive. And she came out with a tweet, and she posted in the tweet that she was refused service to get a test. Hold on a minute. Loretta Bailey, totally ashamed. Thanks for the knowledge. Will we ever be treated fair? Miss Loretta, I can call you Miss Loretta again. Miss Loretta. At this point, when we see these things, you have to ask yourself, in the big scope of things, what is fair anymore? What do we consider fair? And I ask that, facetiously, because when you talk about fair, what is fair? Because you in order to be fair, you have to start evenly. And because this has gone on for so long, I don't think anything will ever be actually fair. Because when you look at these programs and look at the systems and the things that have been done over all these years, we're still trying to play catch up. It's like when you were a kid and somebody said they were faster than you and they said, well, I'll give you a head start. I'll show you I'm faster. I'm gonna give you a head start. Well, this head start was given in a negative way to certain folks, but not to other folks. So when you say fair, I get it. I asked the question myself, but I get kind of puzzled because when you say fair, will it ever be fair? Because even when the systems are fixed, we're still years and years behind. That lead will always be there no matter what, no matter how you look at it. And it's bad to look at it that way, but it's the reality of the situation. Fair. Thanks for that comment, though. I appreciate that. So Miss Candace Owens, and I'm going to call her Miss Candace Owens today. I'm not going to be disrespectful to the young lady. But she went to get a COVID test to see if she was, positive, because something she had to do required her to have a test. And this is what she said on a tweet. Now, she tweets these things out. I just received an email from a COVID testing facility that they are refusing to administer a test to me because they don't like my politics. Insane. This is what she wrote. And then she followed up her tweet with screenshots of the laboratory's co-founder, Susanna Lee, her email denying the request for a COVID test. This is what Candace Owens took a picture of, posted it. People jumped on it. And then Candace Owens described Mrs. Lee as a rabid activist who isn't stable enough to work in health and is a danger to the Aspen community. This sounds like some things people have said about Candace Owens, except she's not in the health community. But let me go on. So Mrs. Lee, this is what Mrs. Lee's email said. She's the co-founder of the lab, wrote that, and this is what she said. Her establishment cannot support anyone who has proactively worked to make this pandemic worse by spreading misinformation, politicizing, and discouraging the wearing of masks and actively dissuading people from receiving life-saving vaccinations. That's what Mrs. Lee said. That's why they didn't want to serve her, because they refused to serve someone who's been so loud and the trumpeter who has been so loud about what the vaccine and your rights and your freedoms and everything like that. But you coming to my business. This is Ms. Lee now. I'm talking like Ms. Lee. You're coming to my business to ask me to give you a test for something that you've told everybody else was fake, that the government was trying to take it. Why should I take care of you? This is Ms. Lee. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what she said. And this is what she also put in there. My team and myself have worked overtime to exhaustion, unpaid and underpaid this past year, spending our own capital to ensure that our community remains protected. It would be unfair to them and to the sacrifices we have all made this year to serve you. I don't have a problem with what she said. I don't have a problem with what she said. All right, hey, just a little reality for Mrs. Owens. Yes, it is. Consequences of your actions. Y'all hear me say it all the time. Consequences and repercussions for your actions. This is it. So here, well, let me get into it. Then I'll get into my part. Nothing, and this is Mrs. Owens. Nothing screams this virus isn't political. Quite like Googling the names of the people who book tests with you and determining on a case-by-case basis whether or not you will let them comply with your community COVID measures. Nothing screams I love my local community quite like refusing to test people who are going to a local event and wish to ensure they are negative and therefore do not spread the virus. When some users on Twitter defendedly arguing that conservatives often champion private businesses having the right to make their own choices in regards to their establishments, Owens responded that she believes in the freedom to choose, but that when health professionals begin choosing who is allowed to determine if they have COVID, we are no longer in a public health crisis. Owens, who has said she isn't vaccinated against COVID-19, faced backlash last year for some of her comments about the pandemic, including alleging on Twitter that the virus was never as fatal as experts said. See, if you go back and you read all the comments that Mrs. Owens has said about coronavirus, as well as George Floyd and all these things, but we don't want to intertwine the two, but let's stick with COVID. All her comments, all the things that she said, all the hot button issues that she tried to talk about with COVID and everything like that. Why should Mrs. Lee give her a COVID test? Because in the comments that she's made up to this point, it's not that bad. The government shouldn't be able to make you get a test. The government shouldn't make you get vaccinated. The government shouldn't have to make you wear a mask. All the different things of what you shouldn't have to do because of COVID. But my question to her is, why are you getting tested? And don't give me that excuse, well, in order for me to do the things I want to do, I need to get tested. Then don't do them. Because you had a lot of people out here, and then when she gets into this part of talking about, well, as a health professional, she shouldn't be choosing who gets the test and who gets, well, wait a minute, let's back up for a minute. Because I remember when COVID was first going on, these hospital beds was full and people was on the ventilators and all this. They were making life choices of who was going to be given a ventilator and who wasn't because of age, because of nationality, because of who they felt should survive and who shouldn't, because they didn't know what was going on with COVID when it first started. Y'all remember? We've seen the reports where they were in hospitals making life decisions on people. If you were 65, 70 years old and you had COVID and you looked a certain way, you probably wasn't going to get a ventilator. But if you was 25 to 35, 45 and you looked a certain way, you probably got a ventilator. But now she's mad because she can't get tested. I'm a little torn because my thing is, with the testing and where we're at right now, everyone should be able to get tested to make sure for their own sake that they are COVID free. However, I got it. However, if you have spewed this vitriol lied about certain things that you know nothing about as a non-healthcare professional. And now you're running and upset because a healthcare professional chooses not to serve you because you put her job and made her job harder in order for her to supply and do and treat people in the manner that she was supposed to because of your misinformation. I wouldn't let you in either. But these are the same people that told the baker that they had to bake a cake for the gay couple when the baker did not agree with homosexuality, but they had no problem with telling that baker, you need to bake that cake. But people got a problem with her not giving her the COVID test. Now that's two different variations. You're talking about cake and death. This should be real. Unless the cake is nasty, then it could turn to death. But I'm just, when you look at these things, it's not specifically the person, it's the message. And whether it was Candace Owens or one of these politicians who have been telling all these people don't get tested and the vaccine is harmful, is not proven and all this, and then to find out that they got the vaccine, one of the first ones to get the vaccine, they're out here talking about, as I talked last week, Mercatin, whatever, you know what I'm talking about, the horse stuff, the stuff for the parasites. You got people out here encouraging people to take that before they take a vaccine, but they're vaccinated. I just seen yesterday, Joe Rogan. I don't know if he's got a podcast, big podcast guy. He's in the that MMA or whatever that fighting stuff is, a commentator or whatever. But he's got tested positive with COVID, and he's taking that Mercatin. I can't remember the name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't get into all that. But anyway, he's taking that. And then we had, as I mentioned last week when we were talking about this, we had a doctor come out, a judge ruled that the hospital had to allow and had to administer that stuff that's for horses and things for the parasites to a patient because the family requested it. This is where we're at. We've refused service because of what you've spewed. And then we got people out here wanting to try alternative medication. And it's not even alternative. It's just for animals. When you have a proven vaccine. And when I say proven, I said it's proven at this point. No vaccine, and let me clear this up, no vaccine that we've ever had in the United States of America has been proven to be 100% good. 100% it's going to do what it's supposed to do. But we do have the vaccines that have been proven to prevent, and just in case you get it. But we still got people out here denying it. We still got people out here fighting, talking about, oh, I got the freedoms. And while we're on freedoms, I won't go to this next one yet, but while we're on freedoms, let me get into this because now I'm getting ready to get into something here. All the people who continually stomp their feet and scream and holler about wearing a mask and they want their freedoms and they want this, they want their freedoms. I shouldn't have to wear this and you can't make me do that and all this kind of stuff. But in the same breath, they come back and they say abortion is a woman's right to choose. But then what happened in Texas this week, they're silent about. And, I always get on these people who get quiet on certain situations. But if you were stomping your feet and yelling loudly about having to wear a mask because it's your freedom and it's your right not to have to wear it, why are you so silent about what happened in Texas this week? Whether you're pro-life, whether you're pro-choice, it doesn't matter. What happened in Texas this week with the abortion process, where the legislature down there and the Supreme Court gave them the authorization to overturn Roe versus Wade and to allow them to abolish abortion. And I don't know all the details, so bear with me. Abolish abortion. And if you're somebody who is escorting, driving, or taking someone to get abortion and you're found guilty, their reward, and somebody tells on you, they're giving rewards of $10,000 for the sellout of someone going to get an abortion now that this is illegal. Now, I haven't read up on it, so we'll get into this in another conversation once it clears its way out. But Texas has put this in play. I read an article where there's like 5 other states that are piggybacking on exactly what Texas has done at this point. But those people who argue about the mask situation are very quiet right now about the abortion situation. I don't understand it. Choice. A woman's right to choose. They always talk about my body, my choice. Well, you can't say that about masks if you're not saying it about abortion. No abortions after 6 weeks. Exactly. After 6 weeks. And most women, and what I had read, most women don't know they're pregnant until about 6 weeks. That's what they said the average was. You normally don't really know if you're pregnant until about 6 weeks. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a woman, so I've never been pregnant, but that's what they tell. That's what it said in the article that I read. But the other part of that is the people in Texas who say they're all about pro-life. Pro-life. Life starts in the womb. That's what they say. I'm not here to debunk it. But if you're that adamant about pro-life in the womb, why is Texas the state with the highest amount of death row executions? You can't be pro-life by situation. Because if you're not going to do abortion by situations, as far as incest, rape, and different things like that, how can you pick and choose how you're going to do executions because a person has committed a crime? This is a deeper conversation than I'm willing to get into today because I don't have all the information I want to have on it. But just from an outside looking in, if you're going to have that and have that emotional feeling, attachment to the unborn child in the womb, you should have the same feeling about the person in the jail cell that's on death row because of a crime he committed. You can't have it both ways. Pro-life means all life, not certain lives. Just my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. But be careful and be aware. Texas may be just a jump start to what's going to go on. And for all the ladies out there, the women out there who have a choice or who had a choice, stand your ground. As a man, and I'll say this from me, as a man, I've never been a woman. Well, that's obvious. But I can't carry a child. But the decisions you make as far as what you do and choose to do with your body is your choice. I feel strongly about that point. Whether it be to the point of you having some type of plastic surgery, whether you want to do anything else to your body, whether you choose to, have an abortion because of a situation that only you know about. That's your choice. And with what went on in Texas, it may become the choice of the government, which they say is getting too powerful when they want to say that, more than your choice. And as we get into that conversation, as I read more on it, I got some stories that I can tell when it comes to that type thing. But let's move on to the next thing. Just a little caveat there. Will justice be served? Will justice be served? Now, I got 3 situations here we're going to talk about. First one I'm going to start with is Elijah McClain. Everybody know who Elijah McClain is? Elijah McClain is the young man who was killed in Colorado walking down the street. This week, Aurora officers Nathan Woodyard, Jason Rosenblatt, and Randy Rodema are the officers that were indicted. And the two fire and rescue personnel, paramedics, Jeremy Cooper and Peter, I can't pronounce his name, Shichunik, something like that. But they were all indicted this week for the death of Elijah McClain. All 5 also face crime of violence and assault charges in McClain's death in Colorado. Manslaughter is a class 4 felony punishable by up to 6 years in prison, while criminally negligent homicide, a class 5 felony, is punishable by up to 3 years in prison. As Elijah McClain's mother, Sheen McClain, told Colorado Public Radio she hoped the officers and paramedics involved in her son's death will receive a life sentence. Not the death penalty, life sentence. She said, I hope they get life in prison. To be honest with you, Elijah lost his life. He didn't grow up being a gang member, robbing banks. He didn't grow up being a problem to anybody. He was living his life in the most peaceful way he possibly could. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser said he was asked by Governor Jared Polis of Colorado to investigate the case last summer after, now watch this now, after Aurora police conducted an investigation and cleared the officers of wrongdoing, while the Adams County District Attorney declined to bring charges. As you know, there was an initial investigation into McClain's death, which was limited. Whenever a person dies after an encounter with law enforcement, the community deserves a thorough investigation. Mr. McClain's family deserves it, and justice requires it. The investigation began back in January of 2021. So the initial investigation, which was very minimal, let these officers off. No charges, no fault found or anything like that. So the Attorney General said, our goal is to seek justice for Elijah McClain, for his family and friends, and for our state. In so doing, we advance the rule of law and the commitment that everyone is accountable and equal under the law. We want you to understand that we are limited in what we can say, and we'll do our talking in court. This is a sad situation here. It was a sad situation. Josh, yeah, it makes you laugh, don't it? It's a sad situation because this young man was just walking home. I think everybody's seen it on the news. And it says here, McClain was confronted by Aurora officers on August 24th, 2019. We're in 2021. They just bringing charges. August 24th, 2019, as he walked home from a convenience store wearing an open-face ski mask. Aurora police said they received a call about a suspicious person and dispatched 3 officers, Woodyard, Rosenblatt, and Rodema. Police say McClain resisted contact when approached by officers and continued walking down the street before a struggle ensued. Now, I think everyone, if you look back, you've seen the video because they had it up there where they confronted him. He was like, what are y'all, why are y'all stopping me? And all these type things. Officers claimed McClain tried to reach for an officer's gun, but later gave conflicting reports about whose gun he'd reached for, as they noted. McClain was placed into a carotid hold, a move that involves cutting off a person's blood flow to the brain by placing pressure on the neck. Woodyard applied the hold according to the 33-page indictment. When paramedics arrived, they injected McClain with a 500 milligram dose of ketamine, a powerful sedative. The dose is suitable for a 200-pound person, while McClain weighed 143 pounds. On the way to the hospital, McClain went into cardiac arrest and was taken off life support on August 30th. McClain was a normal, healthy 23-year-old man prior to encountering law enforcement and medical response personnel. A forensic pathologist opined that the cause of death of Mr. McClain was complications following acute ketamine administration during violence, subdual, and restraint by law enforcement and emergency response personnel, and the manner of death was homicide. McClain's family has also filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Aurora Police Department and the Aurora Fire and Rescue Department. Federal authorities are investigating the case. Now, Elijah McClain, and I can't remember he had some type of, different situation with him. I don't know if he's autistic or anything. I don't want to speak out of turn on this. But I guess my biggest thing is these 3 officers, the way they reacted, didn't value his life at all. Not because of something he did, but was something he was suspected of being suspicious. Not something he did, but something for somebody called and said he was suspicious, and he lost his life. Not only because of the chokehold, but because of what they injected him with, the ketamine, which was a dose that was too much for his body. But it's been 2 years, and now they're finally going to bring charges to say what they did was wrong. Will justice be served in the case of Elijah McClain? We'll watch. The next one, will justice be served? Ahmaud Arbery. A Georgia Superior Court judge wrote in a Monday ruling that defense attorneys for the man charged in the death of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery won't be able to present evidence about Arbery's past legal troubles at the trial. Won't be able to present evidence about Arbery's past legal troubles at the trial. Now, everybody remembers the Ahmaud Arbery. They said he was in the house. They thought he stole something. These 3 guys basically hunted him down. He fought the guy with the gun. The guy shot him, killed him. Didn't hear about it for weeks. months, I think it was, before it even got to national news because there was a cover up, and I'll get into that. But these guys are getting ready to stay in trial here shortly. Jury selection begins October 18th. But the defense lawyers for these three criminals, let's just call them what they are, these three criminals wanted to present evidence about Ahmaud Arbery's past, what he's been arrested for. This is what he was arrested for because it's here, and I'm just going to read it. Not that it's relevant, but I'll read it. In 2013, Arbery pleaded guilty to charges that he brought a gun onto a high school campus a year after he graduated. He pleaded guilty. 2013, he pleaded guilty. He was charged. In 2017, Arbery pleaded guilty to shoplifting after allegedly trying to steal a television from a store. He was on probation at the time of his death. Now, my biggest question is, why does it seem as though when our young men are killed at the hands of someone foolishly, whether it be police officers or the vigilantes, I'll call them what they are, we find time to dig into the past of the victim, to try to justify the death of the victim at the hands of the perpetrator. The system allows this because it's been going on for years and years and years. And only recently have we heard judges stand up and say, no, we're not going to allow that to be put in here because it's going to sway the mindset of the jurors that sit on this trial. But my biggest question to this is, and you have to ask about these defense attorneys that they have. What makes them think that this plays a part in the person's death? He was out jogging. He stopped to look at a house. All of us, and I'll backtrack again, all of us have gone into a new construction home at some time, whether it was yours or somebody else's when you were being nosy, let's just be honest, and looked around just to see what the house looked like. No theft, nothing like that. But these guys never called 911. They took the law into their own hands. Why? Because they felt that they had the complexion for the protection to do whatever they wanted to do to Ahmaud Arbery because of where they were and who they were friends with. Case in point, former Brunswick Judicial Court District Attorney Jackie Johnson was indicted on misconduct charges on Thursday, alleging she used her position to shield the men who killed Ahmaud Arbery from being charged with crimes immediately after the shooting. She showed favor and affection towards Greg McMichael in the investigation and interfered with police officers at the scene. Mr. McMichael was a former employee of Ms. Jackie Johnson, who is the district attorney in that area. So they covered up everything that went on because of her, because she felt she had the power to do that. Now she's finally being charged. They're going to trial, but they're trying to dig up everything they can to make it seem like Ahmaud Arbery's death was his own fault. They shot him. He didn't shoot himself, but it was his fault that they shot him. I just don't get it. Deborah Harris, they fear us, so they kill us. There it is. Ethan Johnson, good morning, bro. We ain't playing in Georgia anymore. Well, y'all still got some things to work on. And we got things to work on all over. They murdered him. Yeah, they did. They murdered him in cold blood. He was just out. He was running. And my thing is this, and I say this all the time, if we were all judged on our past indiscretions, whichever word you want to use, most of us would be looked at in a different light. If the only thing we were judged on was our past on a consistent basis, most of us would be looked at in a different light. Most of us would lose a lot of friends. Most of us would probably lose a lot of family members because, family try to distance themselves when you do wrong. Let's just be real. They also asked, now here's the other part. Not only did they want to bring up his past as far as his criminal record, and I won't even say his criminal record, these are minor things. The gun thing, I get it, but it was back in 2013. Defense attorneys have also asked the judge to allow evidence that Ahmaud Arbery suffered mental health issues, although prosecutors have asked the judge to deny the request. In April, federal prosecutors also indicted the men on hate crime and kidnapping charges in Arbery's death. So they want to bring up that he had a mental health issue. What they got to do with you killing that man in the street? What is his mental health issue? And this is the same thing with Elijah McClain. What does their mental state, what does any of that have to do with the fact that you killed them just because with no cause? Complexion for the protection. And the last one, will justice be served? To a certain extent it was, but it's not. Martinsville Seven. The Martinsville Seven. A group of black men who were executed in 1949 in a 1949 rape of a white woman were granted posthumous pardons by Virginia Governor Ralph Northam on August 31st. 1949. This is 2021. I'm gonna go back again. 1949 is when this happened. The men, listen to this: Frank Harrison Jr., 18 years old; Booker T. Milner, 19 years old; Francis DeSales Grayson, 37 years old; Howard Lee Harrison, 18 years old; James Luther Harrison, 20 years old; Joe Henry Hampton, 19 years old; and John Clayton Taylor, 21 years old, of Martinsville, Virginia, were executed in 1951 due to the 1940 rape of Ruby Stroud Floyd, a 32-year-old white woman. Stroud had gone to a mostly black neighborhood on January 8th, 1949 to receive payment for clothes she'd sold. So she went into this neighborhood to pick up money that she sold. Sometime in there, she was raped and killed. These seven were charged. These seven men were charged, and I just gave you the names. All of the men, known as the Martinsville Seven, were tried by all white juries, and they represent the largest group of people executed for a single person crime in the state's history. While these pardons do not address the guilt of the seven, they serve as recognition from the Commonwealth that these men were tried without adequate due process and received a racially biased death sentence that not similarly applied to white defendants. So this pardon is not saying that they didn't commit the crime, but it's saying that they were judged wrongly. They didn't get due process in the system because they had an all-white jury and they were sentenced to death. Watch this. Between 1908 and 1951, all of the people executed for rape in Virginia via the electric chair were black. From 1908, between 1908 and 1951, four of the men, between 1908 and 1951, all of the people executed for rape in Virginia via the electric chair were black. Doesn't say how many. It just says from 1908 to 1951, and I'm pretty sure they didn't give you a number because they don't want you to be incensed about how many people were killed in the electric chair because they were all black. But they didn't give you a number this time. But that's a lot of years. 51 to 08, they calculate, was that 43? 43 years? On February 2nd, 1951, four of the men were executed in an electric chair, and 3 days later, the other three were also electrocuted. That's in the Martinsville Seven. The Supreme Court ruled in 1977 that imposing the death penalty for rape was cruel and unusual punishment. 1977. Took them to 1977 to rule that the death penalty for rape was cruel and unusual punishment. Family members of the men who were executed say they were interrogated without an attorney and that their confessions were coerced under a threat of mob violence. The Martinsville Seven Coalition has pushed for posthumous executions to be granted I'm sorry, y'all, I can't read that word. To be granted since last year as an what they're doing is they want to go back and look at all of them. That's basically what it said. These men were executed because they were black, and that's not right. This is what the governor said. Their punishment did not fit the crime. They should not have been executed. Since taking office, Governor Northam has issued 604 pardons, which is greater than the previous 9 governors combined. The pardons of the Martinsville Seven are the first posthumous pardons in the state's history. We all deserve a criminal justice system that is fair, equal, and gets it right, no matter who you are or what you look like. I'm grateful for the advocates and the families of the Martinsville Seven for their dedication and perseverance. While we can't change the past, I hope today's action brings them some small measure of peace. Now, was justice served? Because no matter what they do posthumously, these guys never got a fair day in court. None of those 7 got a fair day in court. And then you have to think between 1908 and 1951, all the people that were executed for rape, did they get their day in court? See, these are the things that we talk about when we talk about the systems and how they were set up and what went on then and how it still leads into today. You got the Martinsville Seven, who they were arrested for rape. They were found guilty by a jury of all white jury, but was the evidence presented correctly? Did they get due process? But then in the same breath, you got these 2 cases with Ahmaud Arbery and Elijah McClain, with the police officers and the paramedics, and also the vigilantes, the 3 vigilantes in Georgia that go out there and do what they got to do, but they're given the full due process in what they did. And then it comes back to trying to minimize the extent of the life of the black man that they killed, to minimize it that he was a criminal and he deserved to die. Those are my words. I said it. Because whatever they done in their past, they're being held accountable for what they did wrong to those men. These men didn't say that they didn't do the rape, because now you'll never know, because they've been executed. I'm pretty sure that woman's already passed away, and the jury was done very wrongly. These are the things that I think we need to concentrate on. And everybody talks about, well, we got to leave the past alone. No. You learn from your past. I'm not saying that you hold on to it and make that put the stake in the ground that this is what we're going to go by, but you have to learn from the mistakes of what's going on if you consider what's going on in the past to be a mistake. Or was the system created that way in the past for what it's being able to do up to this point? You have to ask these questions to understand that, when we talk about, as people of color, when we talk about racism and the systems and things like that, these are the instances that nobody wants to discuss. I don't come on here every Saturday morning with this mindset that I'm just going to talk about what's going on in the racism aspect of everything that goes on around us. I don't have to do that. It's given to me every day when I read the news. It's given to me every day in the reaction of what goes on when things happen to people that look like me compared to people that have the complexion for the protection. I don't genuinely just look for articles and information that stands out and it's all geared towards the separation of black and white. But what I do make a conscious effort to find out is, what the hell is going on that we continue to see these stories over and over again and nothing's changing? And the only way we're going to be able to make things change is to talk about it. And my job when I come on here in the mornings is to give you the information so you're aware of what's going on. So when you see things that are happening now, you can correlate them to what happened before and see how much progress we either have made or we still need to make. I am not the end all to be all, as I always say. However, if I have the information, I'm going to provide it. What you choose to do with it is up to you. But you can't turn a blind eye to things that you want to pay attention to and then get loud about the things that you want to pay attention to only because it happened to someone that doesn't look like you. Speak on it as a show to get the word out, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to do that because I think this information is information that we don't pay attention to until it happens to us. I don't know Elijah McClain. I don't know Ahmaud Arbery. But I guarantee if I had an opportunity to sit and talk to them, some of their experiences as a black man in this United States of America can correlate to some of my own experiences. That's why when I see these stories, I tend to gravitate to them because, and people get mad when you say this, but I'm being honest. That could have been me. You could have been reading an article that Rodney Collins was shot down by 3 men because he chose to walk into a house and look at how it was built. And they thought I was stealing something. I could have been Elijah McClain walking down the street from the store with a hoodie on and a mask on because it's cold outside. And because I look suspicious, it ends up with my death. These are the things that we need to take into account when we look at this, because I don't care what anyone says. Your situation and your welfare can be dictated on the perception of what someone else feels that you should or shouldn't be doing. And now your life, your livelihood is now in the hands of someone other than yourself. Someone other than you is dictating whether you should live or die because of what they perceive you may have been doing, only because of how you look. And we're supposed to be okay with that. No, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. Appreciate that, Ethan Johnson. I try my best, bro. I try my best. But when I talk about these things, I have kids. I have 2 boys. I have nieces, nephews. The younger generation needs to understand the things that have happened in the past, so when they see it, they can stop it as it starts progressing. We're not going to be able to solve everything while we're here. But if we can have some kind of impact to change the way the economy is going, change the dichotomy of how things are looked at, then we're doing what we're supposed to do for the next generation. You have to go back and look. Slavery, when they fought to get us out of slavery, that was for us. When Martin Luther King walked, marched, and did the things, that was for us. Now we have to look at it, and what are we doing for ours? The ones coming after us. What are we doing to set it up for them to have a better life than what we had to fight with, what we have to struggle with on a consistent basis? Not because of the content of our character, but because of the color of our skin. What are we doing to lay the groundwork so we make it easier for them to be able to live in this society and in this world and not have racism and things like that looked at them? Don't get me wrong. You're always going to have racism. But if you can minimize the impact of the racism, minimize the amount of people who have that mindset about how they feel about somebody because of how they look, then we're doing what we're supposed to do. There's levels to this, but we can't skip steps trying to get where we need to get to. There's levels, one step at a time. But you can't stop at a step and think we're there when you got 20 more steps to go. Because if you stop at this step, you got to make sure somebody else is willing to pick up that baton and carry it to the next step. But we all got to be involved in this. We can't turn our backs on the struggle just because you're not living within the places where the struggle is going on. We can't continue to do that. We just can't. Can't do it. Let's get in this mind, body, and soul. 2021, year of self-care, self-help, one day at a time. That's what we're doing with the self-help, with the mind, body, and soul. This year is what the concentration is on. And today, this quote comes from Martha Graham. Martha Graham. And this is what it says. What people in the world think of you is really none of your business. What people in the world think of you is really none of your business. We get caught up in opinions of others. We get caught up in opinions of others that we tend to gravitate to being who they want us to be rather than who we are. You've heard me say it many times, and I'm going to say it here. But when we get to the point where we're worrying about what other people think about us, what other people are saying about us, you've crossed a whole different line. You've crossed a whole different line. It ain't none of your business. How somebody truly feels about you or how they view you is none of your business. Why do you care? What is it going to change about you? If I know that 3 people don't like me, why do I let it impact me? They don't pay my bills. They don't feed me. If they don't have an impact on how I go about surviving every day. So why do I care? And the one thing we need to do when we talk about this, you don't have to care what other people's opinions about you are. You don't, because it's none of your business. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and your family and your close friends that you have still receive and accept you for who you are and they correct you when you're wrong, it don't matter about them other folk. So why take the time to invest in the thinking of what they think about you and feel about you when it doesn't matter? And another thing we got to start doing, when someone comes to you, friend, family, someone approaches you and tells you what somebody else said about you, and you entertain it from that person, the next time somebody does that, this is what I want you to ask them. They come and tell you, well, such and such said this, such and such did that. Listen, don't let it impact you, but listen. But let them get it out. And then the next thing after they finish, don't comment, talking about I don't like them anyway. I don't like them. No. Don't do that. And look at that person that just gave you that information and look at them and say, if they said all that and they were comfortable saying all that to you about me, what you say? What did you say? Because the conversation ain't two-sided. It can't be one-sided. If you're getting all this information, what'd you say? And before they get ready to answer, you say, you know what? Don't worry about it. It ain't none of my business. I don't care what you say. It ain't none of my business. Whatever y'all talked about, y'all talked about. But going forward, don't bring that to me. Leave that over there where you was at. Don't bring that to me. If you want to still be in communication with me and a friend with me, leave it over there. Don't come to me with that. That's where we need to get to the point of understanding that we don't have to take in all that negativity. We don't have to take in what other people think and feel about us. It ain't my business. Now don't get me wrong, that's a hard thing to get to the point of understanding and practicing. That whatever someone says about you, how they feel about you is none of your business. But I guarantee if you start looking at things that way, you'll be surprised how much baggage you ain't carrying around, luggage you ain't carrying around, and how free you feel by living with the mindset that I'm going to be me. I'm going to carry myself the way I carry myself. I'm going to live my life to the fullest extent of who I am without the interference of what other people think about me, because it's none of my business. Keep that in your craw. Keep that in your hat. Keep that in your mind. Once you get that mindset, you'll walk around. People will talk bad about, oh, you think he all this. They saying that anyway. Let's just be real. People talking about you anyway. And the thing about it is, most of the stuff you don't hear. So why you concentrate on what you do hear? Let it go. Leave it alone. I guarantee you'll walk a lot prouder. Your chest will stick out a little bit more. They're going to talk about you no matter what. Why is it your business? Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. Enjoy your Labor Day. Labor Day weekend. Be safe out there. I know y'all going to be barbecuing, going to play swimming, doing all them type things. The kids will be out and everything. Be careful. Keep an eye out for the kids. Do the things. Enjoy yourself, but be responsible. That's all I'm saying. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back again next week. And we got the anniversary show coming up. I haven't come up with the date, but I'll start posting that. It's probably going to be, if not next week, the week after. But as we get there, we'll go into that. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. I'm your boy, R.W. Coolins, and I appreciate y'all, and I love y'all. And I'll see y'all next week. Holla at your boy. Peace.